So really our session today, and Vera, thank you for joining us. We were waiting for more people to join, but we really like to, these sessions are, the goal is to have Zoho CRM users join so they can just ask their questions, anything that they want to see. We bring a topic, but the idea is to be open. So feel free to unmute yourself to ask a question. The topic today is about how to boost adoption of the CRM in sales teams and just teams in companies overall. So myself and Kayla will be going through the content today, but please feel free to interrupt anytime because we wanted to share from our experience what we've been using to increase the adoption of the CRM across companies. And there's three key things that just keep showing to tie with this adoption. One of the things is to start talking about your goals and getting those goals into the CRM, whichever goals you have. And we're going to go through a few examples for the business, but anything that can be tied with sales activity or even other sort of metrics for the team, transforming those and bringing those into the CRM. That's the key thing first to do. The other thing is to get everyone on the same page. So getting everyone on the same page means sharing data and making sure everyone sees the same. And that's very powerful because we're not, we're trying to diminish different perspectives and making sure that everyone can talk about the same data. And then how to tie activity with result is kind of how everything comes together. So as we shared before, please make sure you ask. So unmute yourself because this is really supposed to be a conversation more than a presentation, or just type. So the first, let's talk a little bit about goals and KPMs. So the first thing we suggest to all businesses working with the CRM is to pick 1, 2, 3 goals you have for your business, write them down and think how they could be in the CRM. How are they tied somehow with sales activity or team productivity? So here's a few examples. We want to grow sales by X% this year, or we want to make sure that we increase sales activity. For example, we have a sales team, internal, external team members. We want to have meaningful calls per month because we know that will drive sales. Or we want to check, for example, how many leads are being generated, how many prospects are being added to the CRM. Usually all of these are just examples of things you can use. What matters is for you to define that goal and try to make it as tangible as possible. So are we talking about new prospects, new emails, meaningful calls, business revenue, just opportunities or number of people we're talking to? Because when you have that, then it's easy to start defining those in the CRM. So let's look a little bit of how we would do this. So we'll pick one of these variables, and Kelly will kind of show us how to get this into the CRM to build this as a dashboard that everyone can see. So we're going to be using an account we have with some data to show you how you would build these variables and then make sure that they are shared with the team. Kelly, are you good to share your screen?
Yes, let me do that real quick.
Cool.
1 second.
If there's a section as well for Q&A on the call, on the Zoho meeting, that you can add your questions. If there's a specific variable, for example, that you would like to see or that you'd like to track, and you're not sure how is the best way to get that into the CRM, just let us know.
You guys see my screen okay?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So for the purposes of this webinar, we'll use the example of a print finisher. So we might be interested in knowing the number of print customers that come in, how much revenue we're making every month, and how our salespeople are performing on meeting their monthly quota. So that's where dashboards can help with accountability and making sure your team is motivated to help your business grow. So we're going to start out with the dashboard analytics tab. If you can't see it, sometimes you might need to click these 3 little dots, but on my screen, you can see analytics right here. So we're going to click that. And then we're going to build a new report so we can look at more specific information in the filters. So we went ahead and created a sales activity dashboard already for this webinar. And we're going to use that as our example today. So in the pre-built gallery option, you can create more components. It's just a little bit more intuitive. So we'd recommend doing it that way. So you're going to do click the add component button and then pick from gallery. That way you're able to see, depending on what your business goals are, it'll help you better gauge those metrics. So as you can see, there's the organization overview, there's lead analytics, potential insights, activity stats, and marketing metrics. So we're gonna create a graph from some of these reports. And some of the most helpful ones to help your sales team stay accountable are the revenue related target chart, which can be found.
Organizational view, I think you had that one there.
Oh, was it here?
Mm-hmm. The revenue target is here.
We can, and then we can look at this. Look at how the sales reps do as well by KPI. Although since there's only one salesperson associated with the print finisher, the logic won't make sense in this example, but this is a really great way to help your sales team stay accountable, and then it kind of helps them stay competitive and see how many leads that they're able to bring in. So rankings KPI, that's a really good one. The leads created one is also a really good one. That one's just in the gallery view as well. So you can go to lead analytics. You can do it by status, or you can do it by account. And see what else.
So our advice here is really, if you're starting to play with your dashboards, as we said, first write down your goal. What is your goal and how do you measure it and what do you want to measure? And then come into this section and use this gallery option because it's very visual and easy to select any of these. So if you select any of these options, as Kelly is showing, like lead analytics, if it's more sales activity related, go to activity stats. So if you select one of those, it's very easy then to edit to get to the data you want to show.
Yeah, and so you can, with these drop downs, you can edit it and make it, if you're more interested in accounts created versus leads, you can change that as well. So it's really intuitive, very user-friendly. And then, yeah, you can save, and that's added. And then the other key, a lot of times what's helpful is, yeah, you can look at these dashboards on the analytics side, but when you first log into the CRM, it's helpful just on the home page to look at the dashboards right away to see how you measure up. So if you're interested in adding a dashboard component to the home page, simply click the three dots and then you can add a component. And then if you go over to dashboard, you can then select the dashboard that you created. So we did the sales activity one, so I'm going to select that. And then you can select the component that you created for that specific dashboard. So I'll say I want the leads created one added. And then as you can see, then it populated to the bottom of the home page. And you could add this one as well, and this one. And what's nice is then you can also rearrange this too. So if you're more focused on the revenue for the year, that could come first. And then just hit save. and then it will appear at the bottom of your homepage. So that's a nice tip to make sure that your sales team is held accountable and making sure that you're on track with your monthly and year-long goals.
Thank you, Caleb.
Awesome.
Thank you. Well, let's see a few more things. Let's see if any of the participants, if you just want to unmute yourself, you can all talk. You can all ask your questions verbally or just add it on the Q&A. Let us know a variable that you have tried, for example, something you would like to measure and you're not sure. Go ahead, Vera. Do you want to unmute yourself?
Yes, just a quick question. So we have this one variable that I don't know, the new orders, because we have new orders. That's like a different thing. How can I put that on the dashboard? And I don't know what it's called. It's not a.
Yeah. So the new orders
it's
is a module, right? So it's like an activities meetings account. So let's use this example here. When you add a component, so go into your analytics a module, that's kind of how it's called, but kind of on the top bar. And then these are all built by default, but you can just always add a new one just while you're playing with it. Like, let's call it like even new orders. And let's add a chart. So you can have your quick chart, and when you select your modules, that's where it's going to show. In this case, in this account, obviously they don't have this module. It's just a demo account, but that's where it would show. So your new orders would show here. You would give it a name. Let's, for example, new orders this year. It would allow you to select if you want to know number of new orders or the amount. For example, the sum of the grand total instead of quotes in your case will be of the new orders. And then you can use this for a bit more criteria. For example, you could select, let's say you don't want to see all the orders, you just want to see a certain type. You could use all the variables here to create that filter, or by location, for example. The other options you have, for example, is I really like the idea when you have a goal for something like that, that you set a benchmark. So that this is kind of your goal. Let's say it's 20. Let's show you how this, and this is very important, obviously. So this is the module that would be your new orders. If you want to see new orders related to other modules, you could bring that up as well. I don't think you'll need for what I'm saying. And then how do you want to group them? So you could say, created this month, so it will cluster them monthly, or this year, fiscal year, for example. So that's going to do per year. Or you could also use closed. I think you would also have like a new orders or when it was fulfilled, because you have different dates. So everything that is a date field in your new orders, you could use here to group. So everything would show here as an option.
Okay. And actually, can you take a step back? And can you take me a step back? How did you actually get to that chart? I think my dashboard looks a little bit different. Is there a different view? I know that there's a classic view or something like that, but how did you actually find that add chart?
So when you hear, it's called analytics or dashboards. So when you're on this section, can you already see on your side like all these options?
No.
Okay. Build your dashboard, and our quick tips is always start at the dashboard analytics tab. Use those pre-built options we saw. Check the gallery options when you're adding a component. If you want very specific information that it's not showing there in the pre-built options, you could also have the option to build a new report. And any report that has like a graphical option can be added to the home view. So that means when you are on your report section, you have your reports that you've created, for example, email sent status. If you have a report that has an option to, so to be a report, I'm going to create one just to show you real quick. Let's say I'm going to look at leads. You have to have a summary or a matrix report. So you kind of have to have a total to be able to have groupings, and that is what's going to create your graphs. So let's, for example, source. I'm just going to create one real quick here. So what am I missing? I'm missing, what am I grouping, or columns to total? So every time they spent, I want to show you an example. This is not a good example. Let me show you an example where I have graphs built in. Reports. I did believe I had. So I'm missing my option to have a graph, which is convert leads by source. Ah, there it is. I was missing my totals. So every time you have the option to create a chart, you can see the chart and with different formats. And once you have a chart, now this can be added to your home page as to your home, like a graph. Okay, so you can add to dashboard. Select your dashboard. I'm going to say my marketing metrics. Call it demo. And once it's showing in your analytics section, so marketing metrics, it's going to show up here. So you can add it to home from here, or you can be in the home and add this graph. So just to wrap up, what is the last thing we would say that's really key? Is really how do you tie activity with results? So one of the key things to increase adoption of a CRM by a sales team is really about bringing the CRM or the data in the CRM to your daily, weekly, or monthly meetings. So the teams that we see that really embrace and adopt the CRM and everyone is using it is when a sales team, for example, a sales team's meeting, we bring the CRM to look at the home page or look at those dashboards and see the results. You share your results with the board or CEO, and that means literally coming into the CRM, logging in, opening up and say, okay, team, let's see how we're doing. This allows everyone to be on the same page when everyone is looking at the same data, right? It's not about an Excel file that someone manipulated in a way or another, or someone filtered in a different way. This is really about, there's no doubt about this, okay, this is what was prospected. This was our goal. What happened like this month? Can we talk about it? What is going on, with the person A, B, or C when you have that visible to everyone. So our advice is really to use this with the team, with the board, with your CEO, on your one-to-ones, because that will allow your team members to see that it's real, that you're looking at it from a management perspective. The other element that we've seen several teams work with as well is to reward your team based on metrics that start at the CRM level. So for example, if you're working with an inside salesperson that needs to, reach out to a certain number of new accounts, or needs to create new accounts, or needs to do X amount of calls per week, you want to have those commissions tied to what you're seeing in the CRM. And obviously, if you have if you have your QuickBooks or your invoicing system, you'll need to check that those results come into revenue. But there's a lot of stuff that you can start at the CRM. So we do say if it's not in Zoho, it didn't happen. If you follow this principle, it's kind of the best way to see adoption grow in your organization. Is there anything else that people on the call would like to share of how you use it to boost adoption currently? If you're using the CRM, what are you doing internally to make sure that everyone uses it on a daily basis? Well, feel free to unmute. If not, I think I was just going to ask a quick question. So have you customized your home tab so far?
Yeah, and I think that for me, at least, I think we haven't really used very much the Zoho CRM to connect with, with the benchmarks and the goals that we have. So it's a really good overview of how to do that. I'm thinking we're going to start doing next month. Even though we use it, we don't really summarize results. And I think that doing that together is so helpful, just like you described.
Yes, it can be very powerful. Yeah, the other thing obviously is really showing to the team that you're looking at the same things, right? Whether it's how many emails we have or making sure that people are adding data correctly. So bringing the CRM in your weekly meetings, it's very powerful, can be very powerful. Okay, well, thank you for sharing, and thank you for joining us. I think my last question is if those of you who joined, if you recommend the session to a friend or a colleague. We really want this to be as interactive as possible because the point is really to launch topics that this was actually a user who asked us to talk about this. And so every time you join in, we sign up to the event. Next month, we'll be talking about task automation because that's something that also a user asked us to talk about previously that we hadn't touched on, how to use tasks and the automation of tasks in the CRM to boost productivity. So keep your eyes peeled. We'll be sharing those. We have our events are in our website, and there are total events or Zoho user sessions. So you can also see past events there. We're going to add this session, and also on the blog, if you want to look for content on the blog. I don't know if you can still see my screen. You can look for just other marketing topics. Obviously, that's where we're specialists. But if you want to look just at CRM topics, you can see recorded sessions previously and different topics that you can go through and see articles or videos about it. Okay, well, I hope everyone enjoyed the session and looking forward to hearing from what you'd like to see in the future. Have a good day.
Everyone, thank you for attending.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.